Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday, about half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And we're with you until 3 o'clock. It's a What If Wednesday. We'll do that at 1:30. LSU basketball has inked a new assistant. Well, kind of an old assistant that's new now. We'll look at the point spreads on the New Orleans Saints schedule in the 2 o'clock hour, and Koki Riley will join us from Hoover at 2:30. You thought yesterday was good by the LSU baseball team? How about today? LSU absolutely hammers the Southeastern Conference co-champion Kentucky Wildcats. 11-0 was the final in 8 innings. You wanted pitching? You got it. Luke Holman didn't allow a hit in his start. You wanted offense? How about a pair of grand slams, 4 home runs, 7 hits, 11 runs? It was an onslaught at the back end of this game with a 5 spot in the 7th and 4 more in the 8th. A just beatdown of the Kentucky Wildcats by LSU, who clearly is playing the best baseball the Tigers have played all season long. If you had any doubt whether or not LSU was an NCAA tournament team, today put all that away. Absolutely all of it. We'll talk about the resume, where things kind of stand nationally in the next segment. But today was a clinic by the LSU Tigers. Mentioned Luke Holman's performance. I thought he was fantastic. 6 innings, no hits allowed, obviously no runs, only walked 2 and struck out 7. If you go back to last week against Ole Miss and this week against Kentucky, Luke Holman has only walked 2 guys over the span of those 2 starts. Luke Holman has not really gotten hit all year long. Missouri had a couple good swings on him. I don't think he was great in Fayetteville, but he really hasn't gotten knocked around. It's just been the walks, and he's had a propensity to issue some of those, 3, 4, 5 in a start here and there, and his command has been better the last 2 weeks, and obviously he's missing a ton of bats, and he's been great, and he was today. And then they went to Gavin Guidry, who in 2 innings of work only allowed 1 hit. He struck out 3 and only walked 1 guy. Over 2 days against Georgia and Kentucky, LSU pitching has combined to throw 17 innings, 7 hits, only 1 run allowed. It was earned, 6 walks, and 18 strikeouts. And I think that's noteworthy because you're facing Georgia and Kentucky, who have been really strong offenses all year long. Kentucky doesn't have a bunch of guys that are going to be top 50 picks in the draft. They don't have Charlie Condon, but there's enough of a sample size there, even without a ton of home runs, that they're good offensively. You can't win 22 league games without an ace. If your team is average offensively, they're good. And LSU pitching, those 4 guys have just been lights out for 2 days, and that's very, very encouraging. And offensively, LSU has been great as well, but I do want to toss this small caveat in there. They're not facing walk-ons out there. It's not midweek Nickel State pitching. But in these 2 games, LSU has thrown 2 top 2-round draft picks, the top 2 guys in their rotation, against bullpen games. Georgia threw a bullpen game, and Kentucky threw a bullpen game. That's just for context. I'm not trying to diminish LSU in any way. They've played great. They're hitting the ball out of the ballpark. They're moving the baseball when they need to. They're not swinging at balls. Their approach has been excellent. The execution of that's been excellent. And it's been all up and down the lineup. Milazzo's pitching in with a couple of hits. Ashton Larson, a big swing. Hayden Travinski and Jared Jones, who have been scuffling huge swings today, one with the grand slam, one with a homer. Like, it has been very good, but let's be clear, like, Kentucky did not throw a weekend starter today, and Georgia did not throw one yesterday, and that's their prerogative because Kentucky's already clinched the top 8 seed, and Georgia didn't feel like they needed to bring someone back that early. But LSU felt some urgency in this tournament. They've demonstrated that, and they have answered the bell and played fantastic baseball. I think it's really encouraging. And I texted this out to a couple of buddies. I'm not 100% certain that LSU is really good. What I am certain of in watching and observing all this, that team thinks they're really good. And that can be dangerous. I know Gage Jump is good. I know Luke Holman is good. I know Tommy White is good. I know Jared Jones is good. But the collective unit is very good. Now, we already know that LSU plays pretty damn well when Holman, Jump, Herring, Guidry, Ackenhausen are in the game. Like, that's a pretty good LSU team. How the back end of that bullpen performs, that will probably be what determines how far this team can go, because you can't get by on four arms to make a run. We know that. We saw it last year. But this team believes right now, and I think there's some power in that. Now, I also want to add in a caveat here. How you play in Hoover is not an indicator of how you're going to play in the NCAA tournament. We've made a lot about the last three national champions playing like dogs in Hoover. 3 years ago, Mississippi State got run-ruled. 2 years ago, Ole Miss lost on Tuesday and had to wait it out all week to be the last team in the field. Last year, LSU didn't play well. Paul Skeens got hit a little bit against Arkansas. They pulled him out of the game. It didn't look good at all. And those three teams won the national championship. I can bring you back to the 2010 team that was coming off the national championship, didn't play awesome the whole year. Renato was kind of hurt. And they got to Hoover and got hot and won the whole thing. And then they went out to UCLA and they needed a walk-off hit to beat UC Irvine. They got thumped by UCLA, and then they got beaten the next day in the regional. So it's not an indicator. There have been plenty of teams play good in Hoover, not in the regional, play bad in Hoover, good in the regional, or play bad in Hoover, play bad in the regional, play good in Hoover, play good in the regional. Like, there's just not a lot of correlation there. But LSU has found its identity, and that's very important. You know who Jump is. You know who Holman is. You got your guys in the bullpen that you trust. You know that's Herring, Ackenhausen, Little. You know that's Guidry, and that's who you're going to. You've settled on Ashton Larson being an everyday player. You've settled on Stephen Milam being an everyday player. You've settled on your catcher being Alex Milazzo. And you're not trying to mix and match and use different lineups. Sure, is there an instance where I think that Mac Bingham may start here or not there? Maybe, and that's one spot where you're not absolutely set in stone. But even leadoff, that had been such a spot of bother for this LSU team all season long. Like, how do we get somebody on base for Tommy White and Jared Jones? And Michael Braswell has produced. Today, he was 1 for 3, drove in a couple of runs, scored 3 times, drew a walk, hit that leadoff home run. And then you go back to yesterday's game, and he was 3 for 6 with an RBI and a couple runs scored. That's a guy who's very comfortable and confident in his spot. Who's going to protect Tommy White and Jared Jones? Well, Josh Pearson stepped in there, got 2 hits, and drove in 3 runs yesterday. And, he wasn't great today, but he did draw a couple of walks. And he's given you a pretty good at-bat most of the time. Milam's come out of it. Hopefully, Jones and Travinsky's big swings today are them kind of coming out of it. We saw Hayden Travinsky have a really nice day on Saturday. Maybe that big fly is what Jared Jones needs to kind of get things working again. But it's a team right now that's playing with a truckload of confidence. Confidence doesn't mean runs on the scoreboard, but it's a good way to come to the ballpark. And this is a team and a brand that carries an aura around it. It just does, especially in that ballpark. I can't really give you a great reason why LSU seems to play really well there, like the same reason I can't really tell you why South Carolina almost never plays well there. My gut would tell me that LSU usually plays well in Hoover because LSU's usually got a really good baseball team. I think that's part of it. I don't know that I would suggest that Paul Maneri definitely put way more emphasis on the SEC tournament than all the other 13 coaches in the league. I just think he had a good group, and then all of a sudden you got outings by Ryan Bird and Daniel Bradshaw and some of those guys that are getting you through the weekend in SEC tournaments. But LSU came here in a tenuous spot, not a spot where you were just desperate, but a tenuous spot, and they have played 2 of their most complete baseball games all year. And that is a really good feeling. Now you're about to turn for the second half of the week, and if Arkansas wins this game, which they're losing right now, 1-0 early, but if Arkansas wins this game, you're going to see Hagen Smith tomorrow against probably Nate Ackenhausen. That would put you in a little bit of a disadvantage. And it could get bumpy here, or they could continue to play great baseball. But they have accomplished their mission in Hoover. That was to make sure you get one on Tuesday and then get your next guy a start, which they did in Holman, and then play out the string. I don't think there's anything LSU can do from this point to greatly improve their situation. We'll talk about that in the next segment, and I could be proven wrong because there was some significant movement today. But this is a really, really good feeling. And I'll tell you this in summation of this Open, talking about LSU's 11-0 win over Kentucky. Like, I was super bummed out 5 weeks ago. Because when you sit there and look at a team that's 3-12, realistically, their chances of making the NCAA tournament are less than 25%. And you all know that. And I'm telling you right now that the vast majority of LSU fans, maybe myself included for this week, if LSU would have lost 2 out of 3 against Ole Miss and lost yesterday and would have ended the season being in the same position Ole Miss is in today, like, I can't talk about the SEC baseball tournament. I can't talk about RPIs and selection committees. I'm not going to watch on Memorial Day when they call out the field of 64. We don't have baseball to talk about next week. And that is such a huge bummer. We would move on. I would start talking about what they need in the transfer portal, draft day decisions for Jared Jones, Gage Jump. Like, we could do that for a couple of days, but the discussion would be over. And that is awful because this is my favorite time of year. I love talking about this stuff. I love looking around the country at scoreboards. I love yesterday that I'm locked in on East Carolina baseball. Now, that may be a little sick, but I'm trying to get LSU in the field of 64. They did it for me, and now we've definitely got 2 weeks here to sit here and grind baseball. And I love it. I love 9:30 a.m. baseball in Hoover, Alabama. I love midnight baseball in Hoover, Alabama. Last night, I'm watching Mississippi State walk off Ole Miss and maybe end an era of Ole Miss baseball. And we were so close to having that taken away, and now we're back in a big way as LSU beats Kentucky 11-0. The Tigers will be playing next week. Location to be determined, but I'll tell you about the metrics, about what's going on around the country coming up here in the next segment. Our baseball breakdowns all season long are brought to you by Pluckers. If you're looking to watch LSU baseball the rest of the way this week, starting at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, Pluckers is a great spot to get on by. They always have every single game on. Got 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus and Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. Get you some award-winning jumbo chicken wings, ice-cold beer, and watch some baseball the next couple of weeks over at Pluckers. We come back and get you an update on LSU's RPI. It's in a pretty good spot. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. A lot of folks locked in a great interest rate a couple of years ago, not in a hurry to move. Doesn't mean you can't upgrade your living situation. How about a customized, brand new, walk-in, gorgeous closet? How big of a game changer would that be? It's an easy process. You go to OneBathAndClosets.com. You hit that free consultation button. David Duvall and his team come over, and they start that process with a simple questionnaire. What do you have? What do you need? What issues are arising? And they customize a closet to your specifications. And the best part about all that is if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you to One Bath and Closets, $1,000 off. $1,000 off your project. Real money there. One Bath and Closets. Check them out online. OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. We'll recap LSU Kentucky from the SEC tournament and day 2 of Saints OTAs. We'll have the latest. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
South Carolina got one in the first in Hoover. Arkansas has already answered it with one of their own in the bottom half. Actually, I think that's the second inning now. So Arkansas and South Carolina tied at 1 in Hoover. LSU gets the winner tomorrow afternoon. The loser will play in the morning against Kentucky. I was a little surprised to click on Warren Nolan's RPI updater and see that LSU jumped 9 spots in the RPI with that win over Kentucky. Now, Kentucky was the number 3 RPI team, so you figured there was a little bump that was coming. But to go, LSU's RPI is up to 21. Now, entering the week, we said that LSU, among the 13 and 17 teams, had the worst RPI, the worst strength of schedule, the fewest quad 1 wins, and hadn't beaten any of those teams. That was a precarious spot for LSU to be in. Now, as we sit here today, LSU's RPI is better than Vanderbilt's and better than Florida's. LSU is at 21, Vanderbilt is at 21, Florida is at 29. I said this in the first segment. I will say it again now. LSU unequivocally is in the field of 64. You cannot find a way to pull them out. Not with bid stealers, not with 2 losses, not with someone else winning the SEC tournament. You're talking about a team now that has won 8 quad 1 games, that has an RPI at 21, which is not going to back up very much further than probably 25 or 27. If you figure they lose the next 2 days against Arkansas, who right now is 2 in the RPI. And then even if you were to play South Carolina, Kentucky, Kentucky's number 4, and South Carolina's RPI is 19. So you're not going to see a huge fallback from LSU's RPI. I think worst case scenario, you're looking at a team in LSU that has an RPI of 27 with 8 quad 1 wins, 15 wins against SEC competition, playing as well as they have in the last 5 series to win 4 of the last 5 and then 2 consecutively against Georgia and Kentucky here in the SEC tournament. You can't find a way. Now, the team that's going to have to sweat for the next 5-6 days is the Florida Gators, and I think that's what we've talked about. Florida's resume is good if you were watching the LSU game today, and I think a lot of you probably were. Chris Burke was going through it. They've beaten a lot of really good teams. Florida has 13 Quadrant 1 wins. That is a lot. And their RPI is good for at-large consideration at 29. But the overall record could be a bugaboo. And that's what we started talking about back on Monday when we were getting ready for this tournament. What does the committee feel like prioritizing? Do they care about the best teams, the most competitive tournament? Or are we going to look to grow the game? Are we going to look at the most deserving teams, which is very subjective? Florida's got a lot of losses, but they played the number 1 strength of schedule. But they're going to have to sweat it. Vanderbilt probably feels pretty good after that win yesterday. They've now got 14 wins against league competition. They are tied with LSU with 8 Quad 1 wins. Their RPI is back a little bit. But LSU has gone from the back of the pack in all those metrics to now 3rd in the pack among those 5 in RPI. You've jumped Florida and Vanderbilt. You now have more wins against SEC competition than Alabama does. You now have the same number of Quad 1 wins as Vanderbilt. So you're not last in almost any of those metrics now. LSU is completely fine. Florida is the one team here that's probably going to have to sweat. Vanderbilt might want to win another one just like LSU did, but I think they're okay too with an RPI of 24. The only real consequential result yesterday was East Carolina getting a win and moving towards the final of that. Bubble teams want them to win, obviously. But LSU has taken the matters into their own hands. They've handled their business, and now jumping up to 21 in the RPI, you can go ahead and turn out the lights. LSU will be in a regional next week. And I get the question now, what if they go and win the tournament? And I would say that there's a chance that if LSU were to win Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this week, 5 or 6 more wins against league competition and pull their RPI up close to 16, 17, 18, yeah, absolutely a 2 seed is maybe within reach. But I honestly don't see a huge difference in being a 2 or a 3. It's really more about matchups. You're traveling either way. Would you rather be a 2 seed in Corvallis or a 3 seed in Terre Haute, Indiana, or Santa Barbara? Would you rather be a 2 seed at Clemson or a 3 seed, like I mentioned, at Santa Barbara? It's what color uniform and where you bat the first day, but as far as home and away, but it's more about matchups. That's the most important thing for LSU in terms of that selection committee and where they send the Tigers. And we've seen them go all the way up to Corvallis and Eugene. We've seen them out in L.A., and we saw them in Hattiesburg a couple years ago. You don't really know. But I do believe that LSU can get a 2 seed. The other question I got is, can they host? No. You cannot host going 13-17 in the regular season. You could win. You could beat Hagen Smith tomorrow. You could get to the final and en route beating Tennessee and Arkansas and A&M. You're not going to host going 13-17 and being the 11 seed in your conference tournament. That is off the table. Don't allow your mind to wander there. LSU has accomplished what they needed to here. They might be a 3. They might be a 2. I don't really care. They're not going to be a host. And LSU is, set up as well as they can be set up after 2 days. You've only used 2 bullpen guys. Jump and Holman are done. You will not see them until next week, and they are pitching great right now. Those 2 guys combined over 2 days, 13 innings, 4 hits, just 1 run, 14 strikeouts, 3 walks. Those guys are ready to roll. And you used Herring for 2 innings yesterday, and you used Guidry today. You've got Ackenhausen, Lohr, Little, Dutton, all ready to go to get you through a day. And I would suggest if you have a lead, in the 8th or 9th tomorrow, that you might be able to go back to Herring after a day off. They had been careful with that really all season long. They had not used him twice in a weekend until the Ole Miss weekend. They used him on back-to-back days with this very, very small pitch count. They were going to do everything they could to slam the door yesterday and make sure they got that win. You could have taken him out once it got to 9-1, but they just wanted to make sure they got the win. No tempting fate there. And then today, Guidry got it done, and you got the big second grand slam from Tommy White, and you didn't have to go to anybody else. So any way you slice it, if Arkansas wins this game against South Carolina, you're an underdog tomorrow because the best pitcher in the country is coming. Last year, I really wanted to see Hagen Smith. I thought that would be good for the team to get a look at a dominant pitcher before they went to the NCAA tournament because that team was so good and that team already had a top 8 locked up, and I wanted Hagen Smith last year. I don't really want to face him tomorrow because I feel like there's a lot of guys that are feeling good at the dish right now, and I'd rather see somebody else for South Carolina than the left-hander throws 100 that might send some guys have some confidence shaken a little bit seeing that. I'm good on the Hagen Smith stuff. Musso kind of pushed back on me with that last year, and he's like, I don't really want to see him. And I was just like, yeah, let's bring it on. It doesn't really matter. LSU played just fine in the regional after getting beat and playing poorly in the SEC tournament. But I'm good on Hagen Smith tomorrow. I'll take the Gamecocks if they're letting me pick. I'll take that. But LSU is in fantastic spot now. If you missed it and you're just jumping in here, LSU's RPI up to number 21. Tigers have locked in a berth in the field of 64, and we are all very, very fired up about it. There are a lot of different options of where they could go for a regional. East Carolina is going to host a regional. Oregon State's going to host a regional. Wake Forest is going to host a regional. Indiana State's going to host a regional. Clemson's going to host a regional. Santa Barbara is going to host a regional. There are a lot. They can't go to an SEC team, so you're not going to Knoxville, Lexington, but you could go to Chapel Hill and play a team that's 22-8 in the ACC. But right now, I'm confident there are a lot of head coaches around the country who will be tuned in on Memorial Day that do not want to see those 3 letters pop up in their regional. Those 2 pitchers, those top-end hitters, the championship pedigree that LSU's got now with a national championship in their back pocket, the way that they're playing right now against really good teams. And I said at the front, like, look, this offensive performance over the last 2 days is encouraging, but it is against bullpen arms. The stuff the pitchers have done, Jump and Holman, those 2 guys, the numbers they've rolled up against Kentucky and Georgia, that translates, that is loud. And that's really, really strong. LSU looks really, really good. We'll see what the next couple of days hold. But the Tigers get a lot of rest after that morning game. They'll play in the afternoon tomorrow. And they're feeling really good about themselves right about now. You should be, too. I'm fired up about our baseball breakdowns all season long, brought to you by Pluckers. When we come back, it is What If Wednesday on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has got fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. Look, if you're trying to get some money down, looking at the playoffs on either sport, ESPN Bet is absolutely your spot. Here's the deal. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't hit. So right now, download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger.
It's live this Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the original Walk-Ons. Live at lunch, live from Walk-Ons on Burbank. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Question that was brought to my attention. Shout out my guy Jeff Kaliva. Listen to the show. Does being a 2 seed give you a better chance at hosting a super regional? I am efforting that because I don't know for sure the answer. I know what I think. I believe if both 1 seeds lose, that there is a bidding process that takes place. I don't know that it's by the letter of the law with seeds. It might be. Maybe that bidding process is if they're both 2s, both 3s, or both 4s that have won the regionals. But I'm efforting that. I've sent out 2 text messages with people that I think would have a better handle on that. I do not know the answer to it. And it's a very, very, very reasonable question. And if I do find out here in the next 20 minutes when one of these guys texts me back that it does go by seed line, then LSU needs to go out there and win this damn tournament. Because if you can find somehow, some way to get a super back in the box, I'm all for it. Now, we're getting out over our skis here. Everybody's feeling really good. Everybody's feeling really comfortable. LSU's won 4 of 5 series. LSU's won a couple of games in convincing fashion over good teams in the tournament. Everybody's talking about Omaha. We're talking, I got people in the sales floor over here going, do we need to put Omaha packages together? Well, everybody needs to calm down, all right? It's very good. I'm in a great mood. I'm very happy. This has been a very good 4 weeks. LSU's playing really good baseball at the right time to play really good baseball. But we're not in Omaha just yet. It takes some effort to get there, and LSU's going to have to likely travel twice. So I'm efforting the answer here. In the next 90 minutes, I will get an answer from one of these 2 folks that will tell me how that process works. But if, in fact, that is real life and they go by seeding, and if you're the higher seed of the 2 regionals that advance, you host. But I want to say if the 1 seeds are out, it goes to a bidding process. Something is going off in my brain about this exact situation taking place, and I can't figure out what the deal was. I'm thinking back over regionals from the last 2 years, and I can't come up with it. So I'll try to find that answer because that is very, very relevant at this point. Because I do think that LSU could play themselves to a 2 seed over the next few days based on where their RPI sits currently. I don't know that they're right there just yet, even though the RPI clearly is in the low 20s. But you've got some things that are working against you, like they just don't have a ton of quad 1 wins. The conference record's not great. You're down in the pecking order in terms of your conference. Like right now, I think that it's likely that Mississippi State is right on the line to be a host or a 2 seed. So they could be a 2 seed. They've got a winning record against Quad 1 and 15 Quad 1 wins. They're 15-12 against Q1. LSU's 8-13. State went 17-13 in the league. LSU went 13-17, and State's right there on the edge. Now I realize LSU would be on the other end of it in that 16 spot, so it's all relative. But right now, I don't think that you've gone from on the bubble of the tournament to a 2 seed in 2 days. That's, I think, a little ambitious. But I'll get that answer for you here over the next 90 minutes, and we'll have that discussion for sure. Still got a lot to get to here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. LSU's got a new associate head coach in basketball. Want to go through the Saints schedule with some point spreads. Koki Riley is going to jump aboard at 2:30. He is over in Hoover with the Advocate. He's always with us on Wednesdays at 1:15, but obviously he's got some post-game obligations in terms of going to the press conference and writing his story and doing his job. So he'll join us when that's all done, coming up at 2:30. Looking forward to our conversation with Koki. All right, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
Alrighty, first one here. I guess he's kind of a two-parter here, but first part of it is, what if you were invisible for a day?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think you go into you've got to get some places where you wouldn't be authorized to be if people saw that you were there. And my gut goes to Augusta. If I can make plans, I can get to the airport. Nobody's going to see me walk right on the plane. I got to find somewhere to stand for the entirety of the flight or just lay down. And then if I can get I would have to go, I would think, New Orleans to Atlanta, Atlanta to Augusta, and then try to get out there. I'd bring my golf clubs. Are those invisible?
That's the problem. I don't think they would be.
Oh, no.
So then it's like invisible. Yeah, you'd just be standing there with a golf club.
See, I'm not going to Augusta if I can't play because I've already been. So I'm doing something I've already done.
Yeah, that's tough.
But that's exactly where I went. Yeah, I mean, one day. Is it bad that the first thing that came to my mind was I want to go see if I can get on Augusta and play golf?
No, I mean, the thing about it is I guess you could theoretically do some things that
I could travel somewhere for free.
That's true.
And then I'm there. I have to pay to get back.
Right, but the invisibility ends. Yeah.
But I pay to get back. But I mean, you cut out half the cost.
That's true.
I don't think that's a very good. I think I need to be more creative than that. I think I'm such a simpleton that that's exactly where my mind goes.
Well, you can be a little more creative because the next one is, what if you were invisible for a week?
Oh man. I don't know that I'm capable of getting my hands on a bunch of cash. How do
I don't know that even though being invisible, you could possibly get away with maybe robbing a bank or something.
If I'm invisible, can I walk through doors, or do I have to open them still?
Well, see, there has to be a stipulation of whether or not you're invisible. Can you just walk through things?
If I'm invisible, I can still open doors illegally because no one can see me to detain me or tell me who I am.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could get. I guess if I had a week, I could figure out where the cash was in the bank.
Yeah.
But then again, what if I get a bunch of cash?
What are you gonna do with it?
Yeah, because it's gonna be pretty trackable if I just shows up with a bunch of cash in my account. But is that bad? What does that say about my character too? That I'm talking about robbing banks?
Exactly.
Is that okay?
You're right. That's what I was thinking about. It's what is something you could do that's really cool as being invisible, but also isn't illegal or something? Because I feel
it's illegal. It's kind of. I guess that's not a victimless crime. You steal money from a bank. If I can get my hands on 20 grand from a bank, I think they'll survive, and I'd really appreciate it.
You got insurance.
Yeah. So I don't know that 20 grand is going to be covered by their insurance, but
that's true.
That's probably lower than their deductible.
Yeah.
But I think that may be a character flaw for me. I'm trying to swindle somebody out of cash based on my invisibility.
Yeah. Well, to your point, if it's not gonna, let's figure out what the deductible is and steal that, so that way they can make an insurance claim and everybody's okay.
All right. I think two things about me with this hypothetical that we've tossed up. One, I'm not super creative to have something really awesome to do while I'm invisible. And two, my desire to steal money or to get on a golf course is pretty boring.
Yeah, I mean, it's not It's there's definitely more creative things you could. I guess there's probably more you could think of, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, if you're invisible, I feel like most people would take advantage of being visible by just doing things that are not acceptable or illegal.
Yeah, exactly. Go hang out in the dugout at Wrigley for Cubs Braves tonight.
Yeah, that would be pretty. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Go hang out in the outfield. Who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I can
Go
stand
anywhere.
by the mound.
Yeah. All right, next one here. What if Ole Miss is looking to hire a new coach in baseball?
It's a really good job. I don't think it's as good as LSU. I don't think it's as good as Vanderbilt. I don't think it's as good as Florida or Texas, but it's a really good job. They care a lot. They've got a great facility. They're in the league, and they've got a recent national championship to their name. I was listening to Chase Parham and Neil McCready. Speaking of that, I'll just go off on a tangent here. I didn't see the stipulations of this bet. I don't know what happened in the bet or what the bet was, but essentially Neil McCready, who covers Ole Miss for Rebel Grove, had to pack his bags and go to the Memphis airport and go wherever the other guy booked his ticket. And based on Twitter, I believe he was sent to the North Pole.
Okay.
Or North Pole, Alaska.
I was gonna say, I didn't think you could fly there.
I think it's North Pole, Alaska, maybe.
Oh.
I would be really bummed out if I ended up in North Pole, Alaska. That is cold and far away and a long plane ride, and I would be really sad. But it is quite creative by that guy to book his ticket to. I listened to a little bit of podcasts where they were like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going. I've got some layers packed, so we'll see kind of what's going on. But if Ole Miss is looking to hire a coach, Chase Parham said he's kind of hearing some whispers that there may be job openings at Vanderbilt, Texas, and Florida.
Whoa.
Maybe one of the three, maybe all three. Tim Corbin's not in love with the new world of NIL and all that kind of stuff. Kevin O'Sullivan's just kind of had a rocky go of it over there in Gainesville off the baseball field. And then Texas may decide we're coming into the SEC. We're not wild about David Pierce and what's going on here. So let's make a move. And if Ole Miss gets into the boat with those teams, all of a sudden you're kind of up against it, because one part of hiring a head coach is who you're hiring against. And it would be up against it there. But that's a really good job. Cliff Godwin has worked there, and he's done an unbelievable job at East Carolina. They are a regional host every year. They've been a top 8. He hasn't gotten them to Omaha, but they've been knocking on the door for a while. He was an assistant under Bianco. I think that would probably be their first phone call. And then Dan McDonald's always been rumored to Ole Miss. He had Louisville really cooking there for a few years, and they haven't been as good the last handful of years. But I think those would probably be two guys that they would probably look at first.
All right, next one here. What if Arizona beat Coastal Carolina in the national championship? Would Jay Johnson still end up at LSU?
Yes, he would. That's a great accomplishment to win it at Arizona, but when LSU calls, you listen. I'm not saying that every person that LSU offers its baseball head coaching position to for the rest of my life is going to take it, but Jay has said this on the record. This is not like this is not something behind the scenes. Scott Woodward basically sold him and said, I see where this is going with facilities and the network and all the dollars and the Pac-12 and the Rocky stuff that's going on over here. You're going to want to jump out of this league at some point. And that ended up being correct. Because if you're Arizona and you ended up playing weekend series with Penn State, Rutgers, and Indiana, like that's not a great place to be. He would have taken that job. I think that sales pitch was enough. And again, when LSU calls, you listen, even if you've won a national championship.
All right, last one here. This one is from the chat. What if Myers, your son, wants to pursue a career in soccer?
I'm all for it. You're good enough. Now, I think my wife is going to have a little bit of an issue with it, because he's going to have to, if he's going to do that career and do it at the highest level, he's going to have to live in Portugal or London or somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in Europe, most likely.
It's not what she would like, but I'll tell you this. I've never played professional sports. My assumption is it's a better gig than everyone else's job.
Yeah, So. Soccer. The top soccer players in Europe are some of the highest paid athletes in the world. So yeah, it's pretty good.
And the hours are a little different. So I would suggest, fire away. I'm gonna have to learn a lot of rules. I can help you with offsides. I got handball.
That's good.
I got goal kicks and corners covered.
Okay. You got the basics.
I got the basics. I don't know.
The fouls, the way fouls work is a little...
fouls would be tough for me.
Yeah.
I don't know all that. By the way, speaking of rules and stuff, you ever watch a hockey game? I don't know any of the rules.
Oh
of hockey.
yeah,
That's
hockey's
crazy.
weird.
I cannot figure out offsides or
so they have
icing at
have
all.
icing
There's
and
lines,
offsides.
There's blue lines
yeah.
and red lines. I have no idea. So if he wants to do that too, we're really gonna have to work to figure out some rules. But yeah, if he wants to play soccer, that's awesome. I would prefer watching him grow up, play basketball and baseball because I like those sports more. If he wants to play soccer, have at it. If you want to go, do something else, you can do that too. I'm still gonna like sports though. All right, that's it for a What If Wednesday here on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. LSU got a new associate head coach, a familiar name in basketball. We'll tell you about it coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com. I always tell you about the awesome audio hookups that they can provide for you indoors and outdoors. I always tell you about their ability to mount televisions and the home entertainment system, but a couple other features that audio, video, security solutions can do for you. They can handle your security system with the cameras at home. You can have 24-hour surveillance of your home available to you on your phone all the time. And that's an awesome, awesome feature. Nothing more important than the safety of your home and your family. And Audio Video Security Solutions is happy to help you out with that. The other thing they can help you out with, not as serious as security of your home, but it's a pretty serious deal, Wi-Fi. You got to have it. And if you sit it on the couch or in your bed, you're scrolling through and you can't figure out why your phone won't operate properly under your Wi-Fi, your signal's not strong enough, Mesh Wi-Fi may be the answer for you. And the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions can help you with that. Make sure that your internet works all over your house. Boost that signal with Mesh Wi-Fi from Audio Video Security Solutions. This is Mitchell Fisher's cell phone. He's the owner of the company. You call this number, you get the owner of the company. It's 225-439-7920. 225-439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online at avssla.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Hoover for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of...
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. We'll recap LSU Kentucky from the SEC tournament and day 2 of Saints OTAs. We'll have the latest. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Failure happens to us all. You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
South Carolina leads Arkansas 2-1 as they play in the top of the 4th inning in Hoover. LSU will get the winner tomorrow afternoon. Tigers big winners today in Hoover, 11-1 over the 11-1, 11-0, I think. Yeah, 11-0. So as I watched the entire game like 2 hours ago, and I can't remember the score. 11-0 was the final. LSU beats Kentucky. So Tigers 2-0 in SEC tournament play. News out of LSU's basketball program. LSU's got a new associate head coach, and it's a familiar name down here in Baton Rouge. David Patrick rejoining the LSU basketball program. Been the head coach at Sacramento State over the last handful of years. Matt McMahon has quoted, "I'm incredibly excited to welcome David Patrick and his family to our LSU coaching staff. He's an outstanding basketball coach and an elite recruiter who has impacted winning at every step on his journey. Coach Patrick brings tremendous experience and success to our program. He's been a Division I head coach and assistant coach for the Australian national team, winning a bronze medal in the 2021 Olympics, and he's coached in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds of the NCAA tournament." I think this is a really good hire for LSU. Obviously, I think most people around here, when you hear the name David Patrick, you're going to go, "Oh, Ben Simmons. Oh, Ben Simmons." And there's more to David Patrick than just being Ben Simmons' godfather who helped recruit him to Baton Rouge. That was certainly a massive piece to the equation 7-8 years ago. Now he's just David Patrick, the quality basketball coach and high-level recruiter. David Patrick has always been a big-time recruiter wherever he has been. He helped recruit Antonio Blakeney to LSU. He was instrumental in getting Brandon Sampson, a hometown kid, but getting him to LSU as well. And by all accounts, a really good coach. I'll say this. It's slow. It's a slow process, and that should have been expected, although in the era of transfer portal, everyone wants things to happen really, really quickly. It's hard to argue emphatically against the slow build that Matt McMahon has put together. Folks that evaluate recruiting suggest that he's recruited some really high-level high school players. He's done a good job at using the transfer portal to come get some things and put some guys on the floor that have been really impact players at LSU. And this year, well, I don't think that LSU was the most talented team in the SEC. They battled every single game and finished 500 in the league, a big step up from 2 years ago where it was a patchwork roster. And we all kind of feel like, from the outside looking in, that this is a team that is going to be better next year than it was this past year. And that's kind of been the build of this program year over year. It's not been quick. It has not been a quick build, obviously. But I'm encouraged by what continues to happen, whether it's signing 3 guys in the top 75 of this high school class, whether it's going to the transfer portal to get some guys that can really shoot and have played really well, whether it's the coaching staffs that he's put together. Like, the expectations on LSU basketball right now are not in line with football, or not in line with baseball, or not in line with women's basketball. I hope that they get there, but they're not right now. And so in understanding the lens with which we view men's basketball right now, like, I just feel like Matt McMahon's doing a really solid job. It's not the tidal wave that Will Wade showed up and gave us in year 2, winning the SEC, 5-star recruits all over the place. Like, that's what we saw recently, and this doesn't feel like that. But that was going to be really tough to do at LSU in this landscape under that situation. It had to be deliberate, calculated, and steady. And I feel like that's what it's been. David Patrick's not going to overhaul this basketball program, but I just feel like he's a quality guy to add. He's got roots in Baton Rouge, played high school ball here. He's been on the staff here. He understands the landscape. He understands the SEC. And I just think it's a very quality add to the LSU coaching staff. So I'm excited about the direction of things on the hardwood for LSU men's basketball. I'm very, very hopeful that next year in the early spring, in February, March, that they're playing really meaningful basketball. And I hope this is another step towards an NCAA tournament, because that's a lot of fun. We're talking about LSU coming up on the selection show, coming up on Monday for baseball. I'd like to do that in March as well. So we'll see if Matt McMahon and his squad can get that done. All right, that's it for hour number 1 here on the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of it, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or, of course, on YouTube. Talk to LSU and Kentucky in the first segment, and then where LSU stands on the NCAA picture in segment number 2. It was What If Wednesday as well. My phone just lit up, and I've got great news for you. I do have an answer as to how super regional sites are dictated if the 2-1 seeds lose. Does it matter if LSU gets up to that number 2 line? Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to tell you in this hour. We're going to have to do it after SportsCenter. So come back with us on a Wednesday edition. I'll have that answer for you. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. A couple of days after a thrilling Game 7 win to knock out the defending NBA champion Nuggets, the Timberwolves are home to the Mavericks in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals tonight, 8 Eastern ESPN Radio. Minnesota favored to win the series per ESPN Bet. ESPN NBA analyst Janae Agwumake.
As much as the T-Wolves have the weapons defensively, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, Luka is a bad man. And I think he knows that they are the underdogs. I think their entire team knows that. And for some reason, that is the recipe. That is the blueprint for him to thrive when you count them out.
Janae on Carlin versus Joe. Luka Doncic, right knee sprain and left ankle soreness listed as probable tonight. Knicks point guard Jalen Brunson had surgery to repair his broken left hand. He'll be reevaluated in 6 to 8 weeks. Panthers Rangers meet in the playoffs for just the second time ever, first since 1997. They face off Game 1 of the NHL's East Final tonight, 8 Eastern ESPN. Pittsburgh will host the 2026 NFL Draft.
Feeling great starts with a great shave, and great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. That's Barbasol Shaving Cream, an American classic for over 100 years. Close Shave America, Close Shave Barbasol.
Direct your attention to something quite extraordinary.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half that work week in the rearview mirror. Thanks for hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Koki Riley in 30 minutes from Hoover. LSU wins 11-0 today over Kentucky, jumps 9 spots in the RPI up to 21. And look, y'all have listened long enough to know I have no problem when I say something that is absolutely incorrect, coming back and saying in the first segment of this show that was absolutely, completely wrong. So let's correct it right now. I said at the top of the show, I don't really care if there are 2 or 3. It's more about matchups. I'd rather be a 2 seed against UC Santa Barbara than I'd rather be a 3 seed against Santa Barbara than a 2 seed against Clemson. I just feel like Clemson's probably going to have better players. Like, you know, it's all about matchups. I don't care if there are 2 or 3. Just tell me where they're going. That's wrong. I want a 2 now. Texted Joe Healy, D1 Baseball. He's going to come on tomorrow's show and said, what's the deal if the 1 seeds both lose in regionals that are matched up? Who gets the super? Is it just a straight bidding, or is it the higher seed? Because last year, Tennessee won the Clemson Regional as a 2, and Southern Miss won the Auburn Regional as a 2. They had a bid, and I remember that, and Southern Miss won the bid. That shows you how pitiful Tennessee's facilities are. Because I went to Southern Miss 2 years ago, and that place is nothing special, okay? But that's a bid 2 seed on 2 seed. Then I saw last year that Oral Roberts won a regional and Oregon won a regional, neither of whom were hosts, and Oregon got it. They were the higher seed, but they would have won the bid anyway. Oregon's going to outbid Oral Roberts. I think Phil Knight will see to that. So I didn't know. Joe Healy says unequivocally, yes, if a 2 seed wins one regional and a 3 seed wins the other, the 2 seed hosts the super. That is massive. So I don't care about matchups now. I want that. And so LSU needs to try to get a 2 seed. So I found that out right at the end of hour number 1. That was about 9 minutes ago. I took the break to scribble down as many 2 seeds as I could in D1 Baseball's projections from yesterday. And I've gone through and looked. And I do think it is possible for LSU to get a 2 seed. I think it's possible. I didn't get to all of them. I had limited time, and I'm trying to scribble down as much as I can. But I'll tell you that the ones that I wrote down are Illinois, Dallas Baptist, Connecticut, Louisiana Tech, Duke, Oregon, Arizona. These are schools that are thought of as 2 seeds right now. Mississippi State's at 2 in their most recent projection, but I think that's probably going to change after last night's win, and LSU is not really in competition with Mississippi State because that's the top end of the 2s. They're battling for a host. Illinois is not hosting. Their RPI is 41. That's who LSU is kind of being lumped in with this group. So LSU's RPI right now is 21. Let me go through some RPIs of some 2 seeds in D1 baseball's most recent projection. LSU, again, is 21. Illinois is 41. Dallas Baptist is 23. They're also 8-2 against Quad 1. That resume is better than LSU's. UConn's is 36. They're 2-7 against Quad 1. Now, they won their conference, the Big East, and that matters. So did Illinois with the Big Ten, and that matters. But I think LSU compares with those teams. Louisiana Tech's RPI is 27, very good. They're 3-5 against Quad 1. Duke's RPI is 20, right there with LSU. LSU's 21. Duke's 11-12 against Quad 1. That's better than LSU. Now, Oregon's RPI as a 2 seed is 46. And they're 4-4 against Quad 1. Arizona's is 28. So LSU's RPI is better than everybody on this list except Duke. Now, I would argue Dallas Baptist, even though they're 2 spots behind LSU, has a better resume, but just in those 2 metrics. But the point of talking all this and going through all of it, yes, I believe LSU can get a 2 seed, and that is big because I want that super at the box any way I can get it. And if you got to go somewhere and win one as a 2 seed and then hope that a 3 or a 4 gets it somewhere else, or actually, scrap that. Let me stop right there as I'm thinking about this in real time. If LSU gets a 2 seed and the 1 doesn't win the other regional, ain't nobody outbidding the box for a super regional. I don't care who the 2 is on the other side. So that's the crux of this thing. If you can get a 2 seed and win your regional and the 1 doesn't win across the way, Alec Box. How different a tune are we singing now than we were literally 27 hours ago? That is how quickly things can change. Now, LSU, I still suggest, has work to do. Because you were still 13-17 in league play and with the 11 seed in your conference tournament. That is going to matter. But you can do work here. And so now I start to look at this and go, okay, the next game for LSU is the winner of Arkansas and South Carolina. Now I definitely want no part of Hagen Smith. Because I'll be frank with you, as well as LSU's playing, Nate Ackenhausen, Christian Little, Justin Lohr, and Sam Dutton against Hagen Smith does not sound like a bundle of joy. I'm not saying you can't win the game, but that doesn't sound awesome. I feel better about trying to play a South Carolina team that just threw their best reliever a ton of pitches yesterday. And by the way, Chris Veach was fantastic in that game, but yeah, he pitched a lot yesterday. So I want South Carolina to win that game now, and I look up at my screen and I see a tie ball game. Arkansas's knotted things up. It's 2-2, Arkansas and South Carolina as they play in the bottom of the 4th inning. So I did not consider this. Jeff Kaliva, Johnny on the spot, sends me a text message from up in, I guess he's over in Houston now, and says, what about supers? Not something I had considered in the least. That is a complete miss on my part. And I'll be quite frank, it's hard for me to realize that I should have gone from are they in the tournament to are they a 2 seed that can host a super regional in the span of 27 hours? I guess I need to be a little bit more on top of things than that, but that had not crossed my mind. And I'm more than happy to admit that I misfired there. But you put your RPI in a spot closer to 16 than it is right now, and yeah, you will get a look as a 2 seed. I think you'll start having that conversation when you're looking at teams that have poor RPIs like UConn at 36 or Illinois at 41 or Oregon at 46. And you look at really poor Quad 1 records like Louisiana Tech's got 3 wins against Quad 1. UConn's got 2 wins against Quad 1. Arizona's 3-9 against Quad 1. These are the teams that they've got in as 2 seeds. And your RPI is better than those teams, and you've got a lot more Quad 1 wins. So, yeah, I think you've got a situation where you're definitely going to play Thursday and Friday now, and could potentially play to Saturday. I think if LSU wins 2 more games, you could feel really good about it too. All these statements you make at this point in the week are obviously come with the caveat of I don't know what's going to happen across the country. I don't know if Louisiana Tech's going to go win their conference tournament or go 2-out. I don't know if Arizona is going to roll this weekend or get beat twice. Like, things can happen around the country that affect LSU that we're not even looking at this point. But I feel like just speaking with a reasonable amount of information, I would suggest if LSU could win 2 more games, which would both be in quad 1, to get to 10 quad 1 wins and an RPI of 18 or 19, that's a 2 seed. It's not a Mississippi State 2 seed. It's playing towards a 1, but it is a 2 seed. This goes right back to my open of the show today. It's just all hits me at the same time. Like, I love this stuff. I love this sport. I love how nuts it is this time of year. This is something that college football's never really had until this coming year, where you're adding more teams. You're not talking about the Louisiana Techs, Oregons, and Arizonas of the world in college football. It's awesome. I love it. You love it. But this is an aspect of college baseball that I love. And we have different experiences every single year, but it all kind of ties back to seeding and positioning and what can happen. And in this sport, for me to go from 2 days ago saying, LSU feels like they're okay, but they might need to help themselves, to like, dang, they might be able to get a 2 seed and host a Super Regional and go to Omaha. Like, that is a wild change in conversation over a 27-hour period. But I think it's reasonable and realistic. I don't think I'm throwing on massive homer glasses here to suggest that LSU, with a 21 RPI and 8 quad 1 wins, compares reasonably with Oregon, whose RPI is 25 spots worse and has half the quad 1 wins. Like, I don't think that's ludicrous for me to start talking about that. I didn't at the top of the show, but I sure am now, and glad to be doing it as well. So LSU will get the winner of Arkansas and South Carolina. Go Gamecocks! I don't want to see Hagen Smith tomorrow, but we'll talk about it a little bit later on with Koki Riley in 20 minutes. Point spreads are out for the black and gold. What does that mean about their 2024 schedule? We're talking about that coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When things heat up, you don't just want a cold one. You want the coldest one. The cold lagered, cold filtered, cold packaged one. Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's live this Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the original Walk-Ons. Live at lunch, live from Walk-Ons on Burbank. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the mic icon to send us your thoughts in audio form. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review. Speak up. Tell us your location and be heard. Find our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. For direct links, visit 1045ESPN.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Home run Gamecocks, 4-2 South Kakalaka over in Hoover, Alabama. It's bullpen day for Arkansas, so hold their Ace Hagen-Smith for tomorrow, as I mentioned. They've gone through a number of pitchers now, but South Carolina has pulled ahead as they play in the top of the 5th inning at the Hoover Met. Took a chance this morning and looked over the Saints' schedule and checked out the point spreads via ESPN Bet on all the games. And I think it's something you could read too much into because the point spreads are so tight in the NFL that is there a huge difference in the matchup if you're a 2-point dog or a 1-point favorite? No, it just means it's a really tight game. And most of these games are really tight point spreads, but it does illustrate the point that most of us were making when the schedule came out last week. The Saints are underdogs in 4 of their first 5 games. They're favored by 5 against Carolina. Then they're at Dallas, where they're a 6-point dog. Philly comes to the Dome. You're a 3-point dog. You go to Atlanta. You're a 4-point dog. You're at Kansas City. You're an 8-point dog. So you're underdogs in 4 of the first 5. That signals it could be a bit of a rocky start, as we noticed when the schedule came out. But you can extrapolate it out a little bit further, and the Saints are dogs in 8 of their first 12. And I just feel like the tenor of this entire organization can hinge on that. Because if you go out there and the chalk falls, which theoretically, likely will not go exactly according to plan like that, but for the sake of the discussion here in May, you start 4-8, like the city's unhappy, the organization is unhappy, and you feel like there are massive changes coming. Like, let's just be real. And that's just the reality of the difficulties of the NFL and where the Saints organization is right now. But you can flip that and understand that if you can get through that and get to your bye week, there are games where you're favored moving forward. You're favored at New York. You're favored against Washington. You're favored against the Raiders. There can be a strong finish to this year if you can just survive the beginning. Now, Atlanta is the only South team that's favored in New Orleans, and that's your competition. And I feel like that's correct, but we don't know. The conversation around Atlanta right now is very similar to the conversation that was around the Saints this time last year. It's a roster you think is pretty good and a brand new quarterback who should elevate things significantly from where you were. Where you were with the Saints was Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton. Where they were last year was Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke. And you plugged in Derek Carr, and it didn't get a whole heck of a lot better. And now you're plugging in Kirk Cousins, and we all assume it's going to be better. But do we know that? No. Got a new coach as well. So the division's the most important thing, but you start to look at things. At home, you're favored in 5 of the 8. Carolina, Tampa, Denver, Washington, and the Raiders. You are dogs at home to Philly, Atlanta, Cleveland, and the Rams. And on the road, you're only favored once against the Giants. Your dogs at Dallas, Atlanta, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Green Bay, Tampa. And there's a pick'em on there, which is at Carolina. I would hope the Saints could be a favored at Carolina, but right now, that line's not posted. It's just a pick it. But again, I should point out that looking through this entire schedule, 10 of the games are a field goal or less. I mean, Carolina's not, it's 5. Dallas, you're a 6-point dog. At Kansas City, you're an 8-point dog. At Atlanta, it's 4. At Green Bay, it's 5. But most of these lines are within 3 points either way. And like I said, to start things off, like, it's a field goal here and there. Like, that's the nature of this thing. But the Saints are at such a critical juncture, I believe, with their franchise. Mickey Loomis would tell you otherwise, but I don't believe it. Does anybody here think if the Saints start 4-8 and don't right the ship and finish this thing 6-11, that there's not going to be a coaching change in New Orleans? Of course there is. Of course there is. There would be far too great a sample size to react any other way. You would have a tenure in Oakland and a 3-year sample size in New Orleans, and it would not have worked. You would be significantly under 500. And it just feels like if you were the Saints, you'd like to flip this schedule. You'd really rather play Washington, the Giants, the Rams at home, the Raiders at home at the beginning of the schedule to try to build up some positive equity, 1 in the win column and 2 with the city. Because don't think we've forgotten about how things felt in the Dome during that Jaguars game last year. Like, we haven't. There are some people that are literally my age who have a hard time going back to remember things worse than that in the Dome. Empty seats, boo birds. That has not been the case in New Orleans for 15 years. If you get to that point in back-to-back years, obviously there's got to be a change made. Mickey Loomis spoke about that at the end of the season, saying we evaluated everything and we evaluate our coach and we think we have a really good coach. Now, he may be the only person in the room that believes that, as far as Dennis Allen being a head coach, but perhaps he does. If it starts off bumpy this year, I just don't know if you can get it back. And then you've got to do a different type of reset because you lose a lot of your staff and both sides of the ball, and there's a lot of changes that go with making a head coaching change. So the fact that the Saints are dogs in 4 of their first 5 and 8 of their first 12, you just kind of wish that was reversed a little bit. I'm curious as to what the national folks think about the New Orleans Saints, because the quickest thing to do to assess an organization that you're not covering day to day to day is to just look at what the record says. And the Saints' record says they were an average football team last year. But the fact of the matter is that we all know that schedule was pathetic. If you crank that schedule up 2 notches, you're probably looking at a 5-win team. That tells a completely different story. So there's just a lot of pressure on everyone in this organization starting right out of the chute. You better beat Carolina. And then you better find a way to get your head above water once or twice At Dallas, 6-point dog. Philly at home, 3-point dog. At Atlanta, 4-point dog. At Kansas City, 8-point dog. Because the relief that comes with Denver and Carolina and the Giants and the Commanders and the Raiders is all in the back end. You could tell right when the schedule came out, and Vegas agrees. You're favored 6 times, you're an underdog 10 times, and one's a pick 'em. So if you go by the chalk and you go call it 6-11, well, there are big changes happening in New Orleans. So you're going to have to outperform your expectation, when my belief is that the actual national folks don't know what the Saints really were last year because they were beating up on a bunch of backup quarterbacks. So we'll see. Long way to go. OTAs, summer, training camp. Get out there and play some football. But right now, the Saints are in a spot where they better outperform their expectations, or there are more changes coming in black and gold. Our Saints coverage always can be found on YouTube. Hunt on Saints is our channel there. Go ahead and subscribe up. Saints news all season long. We're going to go to Hoover, Alabama. When we come back, Koki Riley's been covering the Tigers there for a couple days, and they've been pretty impressive for the folks in purple and gold. We're talking about it coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit us at LeBerge Baton Rouge Casino this spring for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. There is no better place to be than the sportsbook over at LeBerge. They've got the biggest screens. That's one really good thing. They got the best food and drink. That's another really, really good thing. And what can be better than that? They're giving away PIN cash bonuses and prizes to PIN Play Rewards members. You might say, I'm not a PIN Play member. Well, that's all right. Just join today by downloading and registering for the PIN Play app from the App Store. You can unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in PIN cash. What's better than that? You hang out, you watch some sports, you eat some great food, have some great drinks, do a little wagering, and you can win some PIN cash. All this and more. Make LeBerge Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters. You must be 21 or older. Got a gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. We'll recap LSU Kentucky from the SEC tournament and day 2 of Saints OTAs. We'll have the latest. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tigers are 2-0 in the SEC tournament in Hoover. They got to Alabama feeling like maybe need a win to get into the NCAA tournament. Now they got me talking about 2 seeds a couple of segments ago. Tigers win today 11-0 over the Kentucky Wildcats. Koki Riley is in Hoover at the Hoover Met covering it all for the Advocate. He joins us now. Koki, how's the breakfast spread at the Hoover Met?
I haven't had the time to get to breakfast actually here. So they do serve 3 meals a day here at Hoover, and it's it's pretty decent. I've gotten lunch every day though, so I just had that.
It's all good. I enjoy that tournament. It's really fun, and LSU's making it real fun for the folks in purple and gold with the way that they're playing. How would you describe the change in play and just the change in energy around this team over the last month?
I mean, they're playing with joy, especially in the last week or two. And you can just really tell, the looks on their faces, their body language, all that stuff. They just seem like a team that's playing loose and playing fun. They're playing more like not a team they're not playing at all like a team that's under any sort of pressure. And that's absolutely huge, and they're kind of playing like when the Chiefs are at their best and they're having fun. They kind of remind me more of that than the sort of the doom and gloom that we saw in the Tennessee series and whatnot.
Yeah, it feels like a completely different team, and they're beating some good teams in Hoover over the last couple of days. More impressive, the offensive onslaught that they've put on for 2 days, or the starting pitching?
For me, it's definitely the starting pitching because. I think what's helped the offense is the fact that they're facing the midweek arms for Kentucky and for Georgia, and obviously you still have to take advantage of that. You have to score your runs, you have to hit your grand slams, whatnot. But at the end of the day, you're still facing those elite lineups, those really good lineups, some of the best offenses in the country, and Luke Holman and Gage Jump have just shut them down. They've been absolutely amazing, and those 2 guys are the reason why this team. I think they're the top reason why this team is where they're at right now this week because, man, you could not have scripted better starting performances from those 2 guys.
Yeah, yesterday, Jay, when I asked about bringing Gage Jump back on 4 days rest, said this guy's going to be a big league pitcher. He's going to pitch professionally. He's going to pitch every 5 days. We had him ready for it. Was it the same kind of chorus with Holman today?
Yes, it was the same. It was very similar for us. He didn't necessarily invoke the major league aspect of it as much, but he definitely said that this was something he'd been planning on to do for really the last few weeks. And part of the reason why he said that was why they decided to, I guess, plan it this way was so they could give the team something to look forward to still, right? To keep the energy high, to keep the positivity within the locker room. Right. Because you want to be able to keep playing for something. And if you can play for a spot in the regional or play for big games of the SEC tournament, and when you have those 2 guys available for those first 2 games, it's definitely it's going to keep your energy up. And I think it's that little plan is it has worked, quite frankly.
Michael Braswell has been on base 5 times in 2 days in the leadoff spot up there in front of White and Jones and Pearson. Has he found like they've finally found an answer there at the top of the lineup?
I think potentially, absolutely, yeah. Michael Braswell, he just knows how to hit SEC pitching. This is now his 3rd season against SEC competition, and combine that with some of the adjustments they've made, using his hips a little bit more, activating some of that power that we saw with that home run. That was only the 2nd home run of the year. You see a very different guy than the guy who really struggled against SEC play, really for pretty much the first 2 years of his career, but especially in that freshman year. So he's become one of those veteran, reliable guys who you can put towards the first top half of the order. And they've been missing guys like that when you don't have Kate Glosso anymore, you don't have Gavin Dugas anymore. And Michael Braswell, in his own way, is sort of filling that role a little bit now. And it's just really good to see him get back on track.
We know that Travinsky and Jones haven't been great offensively over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, but both guys with big flies today, including the Jared Jones grand slam. Feel like maybe that could spark something for those two guys?
Yeah, especially with Travinsky, since I just figured Jones was going to figure it out at some point. He's been too good, not just during non-conference play, but during conference play as well, to at least to get back on the board. And he got back on the board in the best way possible with that grand slam. And with Travinsky, like, he has been a bit streaky, a bit up and down, really towards the second half of the SEC play, but. Maybe that home run gets him going a little bit. This team, their strength at the beginning of SEC play, they didn't have a lot of strength, but one of them was hitting home runs, and they got back to doing that today, and it's in a pitcher's park here at Hoover. So, combined with the fact Tommy White's been one of the best hitters in college baseball over the last week or so, it makes you more positive about this offense, even though I don't think it's ever going to get to the level that we saw last season, but. I also think that this team, with their top two starters, can pretty much match anybody in the country with those two guys with the way they're pitching right now.
And that's why some teams are going to be real nervous when LSU pops up on that screen come Monday when they're headed to a regional somewhere outside of Baton Rouge. I think this is pretty indicative of the way that we've looked at this team, but I talked about the offense and the onslaughts there. I've talked about the starting pitching. I haven't mentioned the defense here to you, but yesterday they made like 5 high-level plays and a couple more today. Mm-hmm. What have you seen from this team defensively?
Yeah, defensively, they've really stepped up. I think someone in my Twitter comments mentioned that, and I thought it was just a really good point. One of the things that's kind of been lost lately is that the defense has just been a lot better. Their outfield defense has always been pretty good for most of the season, but that was even highlighted even more with a guy like Ashton Larson, who made a catch at the wall yesterday, and he's not even one of their best defensive outfielders. I mean, Jake Brown and Paxton Quinn came in as replacements today, and both those guys are not just capable center fielders, but pretty good ones with really good speed. And again, that's just the outfield. And at shortstop, Michael Braswell made his error today. That's really the only defensive mistake they've made this week. But he's made also some really nice plays over at short. At second, Stephen Milam's been fantastic. Tommy White's really improved at third base. We've talked about that really all year. Jared Jones at first, obviously Milazzo behind the plate. So when you look at everything, when Michael Braswell is making the routine play, this team doesn't really have a lot of flaws defensively. When you and especially if they're putting someone like Quinn out on the field. So I've got to say, like, they have stepped it up off defensively, but I've always thought that this was an aspect of the team that Braswell could make. Again, if Braswell's kind of the key here, if he can make the right play, and they're a pretty good defensive unit.
I opened my show saying I don't really care if they're a 2-seed or a 3-seed. I care more about the matchup and where they go and that kind of stuff. And then it was brought to my attention that, wait a second, if they are a 2 and they win their regional and the 1 seed doesn't win across from them, it helps them to potentially get a super if they're a 2. I had not considered that. I now have, and badly want LSU to get a 2 seed here. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like that Jay Johnson's gonna manage with a sense of urgency here over the next couple of days? They're not going to bring obviously Holman or Jump back, but I mean, as far as using Herring and what he can get out of his pitching staff to try to win as many games as they can.
Yeah, the only way we're going to see Holman or Jump again is if they make it the Sunday, and Jump would be technically available again on 4 days rest. But I don't think they would do that because I don't think it's a sport fit. Yeah. I don't think it's sport fit to push a guy that much and finish him twice in a week before you have your regional, and that's the most. Those are the most important games, obviously. So yeah, like I think they're going to try to win these games to the degree that they can. They're just kind of limited with the pitching they have left, right? I think Gavin Guidry, we could see him again, but I don't think we're going to see him tomorrow. Nate Ackenhausen and Christian Little haven't pitched yet, which will help, but I don't think they can get more than 9 innings out of those two guys combined. I'd be surprised. So like they're kind of in a weird spot with their pitching right now, and I guess Fidel Ulloa will be the next guy up, and I don't think he's gotten more than 2 or 3 innings in an outing. So. I just think they're kind of limited with their pitching right now, and I think if South Carolina wins this game against Arkansas, I have to check this. I'm in Hoover, but I'm in a hallway right now, so I don't know what the score is.
It's 4-2 South Carolina right now.
Okay, yeah, 4-2 South Carolina. If South Carolina holds on, I like their chances a lot better, and then they get the day off on Friday, and then they play Saturday with that extra day of rest and maybe an arm or two from the bullpen ready to pitch. It's like, as we've seen all year, it's just hard for this team to win games when Holman and Jump aren't pitching.
Right.
So it's just going to be hard for it's going to be an uphill battle. For them to win at least 2 games because they got to win at least 2 more to be a number 2 seed, I think. So even that might not get it done. So we'll see.
I think basically the crux of my question here, because I don't think Jump or Herring's going to, I don't think Jump or Holman's going to pitch it all the rest of the way. Herring's really the guy we're talking about here. He threw 33 pitches yesterday. Do you think he's available tomorrow?
Ooh, 1 day of rest, 33 pitches after he looked a little bit. He looked a little bit tired in that. I thought he looked a little bit tired in that outing. His control wasn't totally there. And I wonder if he needs, an extra day or 2 to get acclimated. And is it important enough? Are these games really important enough to really push him? Maybe not to his limit, but push him like that. That's the question you sort of have to ask yourself if you're Jay Johnson. I tend to say no, just because it would be great if LSU could host the Super Regional as a 2 seed. That would be absolutely huge for them. But at the same time, do you want to do that at the cost of losing a regional because you burned out your top reliever in Hoover, right? So that's kind of where I land on that. But we'll see. I mean, a lot of it just depends on stuff that you and I won't know in terms of how is he feeling and how do his physical evaluations go and all that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a really interesting thing to monitor. And I do worry about this team the state of this team's pitching a bit, but again, if they play South Carolina, that's going to help them a lot because South Carolina doesn't really have starting pitching, so they just have to find a way to mash in that game the same way they have the last 2 days, and if they can do that, then maybe they can make up some of the pitching deficits they have right now.
Who do you think they start tomorrow in the game?
I think Ackenhausen is definitely an option since he started a few games already. Coach has liked to go to Sam Dutton last few weeks, as you've noticed, and I think that's certainly an option. Again, he hasn't pitched at all, and maybe that could be a really short outing for him. I'm interested to see how much they go Johnny Holstaff tomorrow, if at all, because again they've done that a lot in these third game in 3 days sort of scenarios, but I don't know if they can do that when you have more games coming up, potentially another one on Friday, right? So. I'm really curious to see how this all shakes out, and even I have to mention him, but Thatcher Hurd's going to be an option. Might have to pitch at some point here because he, in theory, still has some length. He can probably go 3 or 4 or 5 innings, and if you can get anything out of him, that would be huge, right? So I think now's probably the time to sort of experiment in a spot where it's important, but it's not do or die.
Koki, we'll let you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We appreciate some time, and sleep in tomorrow. You don't have to get to the ballpark at 6:45.
Oh, that part will be nice. That part will be very nice. Thanks so much for having me on again.
We appreciate it. He's Koki Riley covering LSU for the Advocate over in Hoover. Look, it just depends on what Jay's priority is. Okay, if his priority is purely next week, which is okay, if that's what your priority is, they're fine on pitching in terms of the number of humans they have. They can go out there tomorrow against Arkansas or South Carolina, and they can throw Nate Ackenhausen for 2, and Christian Little for 2, and Justin Lohr for 2, and Thatcher Hurd for 2, and and Sam Dutton for 1, and Cade Anderson for they got plenty of guys to get through the game. And at that point, you can, and if you have to play again on Friday, you can pitch Christian Little. I mean, you can pitch Griffin Herring again. They've got some guys that can go. If your priority is winning games, then it becomes a question of how hard are you willing to pitch Griffin Herring? How hard are you willing to work him? They were obviously willing last weekend to pitch him more than they had all year, twice in a weekend against Ole Miss because they knew they had to have that series. So we'll kind of get a sense for how Jay feels. And I mentioned all those guys for 2. There's no reason Nate Ackenhausen can't throw 4 innings tomorrow. And you can't come back with Thatcher Hurd for 3. And Christian Little for 1. And I mean, you've got enough guys to go over there and pitch. It's just a matter of how much urgency are you willing to use. I'm with Koki there. I think that Ackenhausen and Dutton are probably the two guys most likely to go for LSU tomorrow. We'll just kind of have to see what Jay decides to do. I'll tell you this. I'm headed to Shreveport tomorrow after the show, and I'm very excited that there's a baseball game that LSU is going to play while I'm driving up there. That makes things very, very nice for me in terms of killing some time. Now, the question is, does the 2-year-old in the back stop going, Dad, every time he sees a car or a bird or a tree or, Dad, tree, Dad, garbage truck. Dad. If he does that, it's not as enjoyable to listen to the game. But we'll just have to see if that's the case on I-49 tomorrow or not. Kind of out of my control. But the game will be on in some capacity. LSU tomorrow against the winner of South Carolina and Arkansas. Right now, Gamecocks lead 4-2 as they play in the bottom of the 6th inning. We'll come back and close things up. It is a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Make sure the power doesn't go out at your home or your business. Get a Generac home standby generator from the folks over at Boudreaux's Electric. They're a premier Generac dealer. It means they're a top 3% nationwide. They customize their generator to your needs. Everybody's got different square footages, different demands when the power goes out, what you need powered. Once they figure that part out, they're going to send a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee to go install that generator. They're going to do it with the highest quality in copper and wiring and tubing. They're going to do most of that generator installation underground, so it's not an eyesore outside of your home. I'll take pride in the way that our home looks. Make sure that generator looks good outside. And when the power goes out, which we know is going to happen around here, whether it's a summer storm, a hurricane, or one of the ice storms that we had this year, power goes out, your generator clips on, and you don't miss a beat. Give them a call, 985-397-1562. Again, it's 985-397-1562. Tell them Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there. It's my friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine.
It's live this Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the original Walk-Ons. Live at lunch, live from Walk-Ons on Burbank. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
It's tournament time in the SEC. Catch the SEC baseball tournament semifinals this Saturday at noon. Hopefully the Tigers will be playing in it. And the championship game Sunday at 2 p.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Just really, really strong baseball over the last 2 days from the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Our baseball breakdowns all year long brought to you by Pluckers. I'm on the same page as Koki. I said the same thing at the top of the show, and he reiterated it there. Like, you've seen midweek arms from the last two teams you played in Georgia and Kentucky. There's no doubt about that. They haven't used their weekend rotation against you, but you've hit the ball great. The fact is that their everyday players who have been great all year offensively have been in the lineup, and Luke Holman and Gage Jump and Griffin Herring and Gavin Guidry have been up to the challenge and more. They've been absolutely fantastic, and that is the backbone of this LSU team. This team, its strength is in Jump and Holman, and you've got a lineup that is capable. But those two guys give you an opportunity, and I've been given this stat a lot now. And they're over the last 12 games that those two guys have pitched, LSU is 10-2, and one of those losses was Milazzo throwing it away down the line against Alabama. If they make that throw, and it is an if, but if they make that throw, you're talking about 11-1 behind those two guys over the last 6 weeks. It's been very, very impressive to watch those guys do work, and they'll be done for the weekend. LSU's going to have to do it without them here in Hoover, but they've gotten off to a fantastic start thanks to those two guys. So we'll see LSU tomorrow against the winner of South Carolina and Arkansas, who are playing right this second. All right, back, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here, the 2024-25 NBA season will be officially the last for Inside the NBA, as the NBA is finalizing a new media rights deal with the trio of ESPN, NBC, and Amazon. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. That's a bummer. I mean, the money is absolutely ridiculous. It's
$7 billion, I think.
$7 billion for the NBA rights. I mean, money's booming for Commissioner Silver. But it's a bummer that you're going to miss out with Chuck and Shaq and Ernie and Kenny. Like, that's just such a great show over there on TNT, TBS, and you're obviously going to lose that, and that's a huge bummer. I don't know what ESPN can do to get those guys over there, but they don't currently work for that network, and I think they've got contracts, so we'll see. But that's that show is an American sports treasure, and I hope that there's some way that they can keep it going.
All right, next one here. The Celtics just got by the Pacers in Game 1 last night. Indiana will push the series to at least 6 games. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I think the Celtics get Game 2, and I think they do that a little easier than it was last night for sure. And then I think they can finish it in 5. Like, I realize that everyone, it's very cliche of me to discount the Pacers because everyone's doing that, and then you've got people that are saying, I want to talk about the Pacers. Tim Legler was on Russillo's podcast and say, I was consistently telling people at ESPN that I wanted to talk about the Pacers, and no one would let me talk about the Pacers because no one cares about the Pacers.
Yeah.
So I'm falling right into that trap there. And admittedly, like, I didn't watch a lot of Pacers basketball this year, but the Celtics are the best team in the league, and I think that there generally is one game that gets a little hairy, but the better team generally will come out of it, and I think they will. I think they cruise in Game 2 and kind of tamp down that conversation.
Yeah, the Pacers needed to get that game.
Game
1. You have to get it. It's almost like what happened with the Pelicans in that Game 1 against the Thunder. You had to win that one to really give yourself a chance. So I'm with you there. I think it goes to 5. All right, last one here. Justin Steele will be on the bump tonight for the Cubs against the Braves. Steele gets back on track with a quality start tonight. He struggled in his last 2 outings after injury. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. I'm terrified of the Braves.
Me too. They won last night.
They did. It was a great win. I watched every second of it at Pluckers. It was a
great hit by Nico Horner. That was an incredible piece of hitting.
Yeah, have you watched infield coaches trying to fungo choppers? It's really
That's what he did.
To produce a chopper, especially when you don't have a pitch. But he chopped it off the ground and got that run home. It was a really nice win for the Cubs and their bullpen to get that done. But I'm terrified of the Braves. I'm terrified of Acuna, terrified of Olsen, I'm terrified of Albies, who the Cubs never get out. I love Justin Steele. I think he's great. Very confident with him on the mound against just about anyone else besides the Braves. They terrify me greatly. And so I will leave that. I think I left all three today, which is a rarity. Generally speaking, I'm trying to be positive takes and things, but left them today. All right, that's it for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Started things off talking a lot of baseball at the top of the show. Did a What If Wednesday as well. David Patrick joining LSU's basketball staff. We mentioned that. Saints point spreads are out, and we went through their schedule earlier. You can catch that at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. And Koki Riley joined us from Hoover at 2:30, so go back and catch any of that if you missed it on demand. All right, that's it for us here. Have a wonderful Wednesday evening. We're back same time, same place tomorrow. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further Review. Let's see if the Gamecocks can get this one to the house. Either way, LSU will play tomorrow afternoon, and we'll get you ready for it right here on the Hunt Palmer Show.